Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
You can tell a lot about where a company is going by looking at where it's been. ConocoPhillips, Alaska's oil and gas company.
It's never too early to set expectations and goals for your child's education. The UA College Savings Plan provides opportunities that can help you reach your educational savings goals. Save in Alaska. Study anywhere. There is more information available by calling 1-888, the number 4, and then Alaska. This message sponsored by the UA College Savings Plan.
The National Weather Service.
Hello everyone, and thanks for joining us for Saturday's edition of Alaska Weather. On the advisory map, we've got a few of them, just like yesterday, except the only thing missing was the Thompson Pass blizzard warning, which has ended. Still have a snow advisory out for the western Kenai Peninsula, all the way up into the Anchorage area and portions of the Susitna Valley as well. That out through tonight for another 4 to 7 inches of snow, for maybe 8 to 12 inches or more possible. Again, the snowfall amounts are going to be quite varied across the area, with the lightest amounts from Palmer on up to the northwest, and then picking back up again in other areas of the Susitna Valley. Also, winter weather advisories for snow, 3 to 5 inches for tomorrow here on the north slopes of the Alaska Range and back up into the eastern interior there. Most of the day tomorrow, again, anywhere from 3 to 5 inches in this zone to 4 to 7 inches possible by tomorrow night, tomorrow evening up there over the eastern interior. And moving ahead to there we go. Oh yes, the Arctic coast, winter weather advisory, or actually wind chill advisories up there for the temperatures running 30 to 40 below zero, just the air temperatures this afternoon, and the southwest winds expected to increase 10 to 20 miles per hour. So that's going to put the wind chills down into the minus 55 degree below zero range. These out mostly beginning tomorrow morning or late tonight at the earliest, and then tomorrow morning or any time that the wind picks up, then they'll begin. But right now it looks like that won't happen until tomorrow morning, probably last through the day. And on the satellite imagery, yesterday you could see a huge mass of moisture streaming up into the southeast coast. Several bands actually having moved inland. You can see them right into western Canada here. The one coming in last evening, and then there were a little bit of a break, and another one down there developing, rolling on up. And we had this low pressure area tracking up toward the Kenai Peninsula, and that began to spread the snow in. And of course, a shot of warmer air slid up with that and changed the snow over to rain, both at Whittier and Portage for a short time, as something of a warm front moved on up, but that kind of went aloft and just spread some areas of snow up here over the southeast interior. But now the colder air beginning to come in. You can just make it out the last couple of frames there. Things are starting to drift eastward, and another pretty good storm system here, frontal zone with gale force gusts on the southeast winds, rain heavy at times here, anywhere from 1.5 to 2.5 inches of rain falling all the way from the southern southeast coast there, all the way up mostly along the coast, Sitka over to Yakutat. Lighter amounts, but still a very wet, windy day, even over the eastern areas there toward Juneau. Warm air on those southerly winds changed the snow over to rain, even up at Skagway during the afternoon today. But Cordova, occasional moderate snow this afternoon, so temperatures already falling here in the southerly wind flow. Even with the south winds, temperatures falling down to near freezing at Middleton Island. The colder air back through here, the colder Arctic air being pushed southeastward on those northwest winds there across Kodiak Island to 15 to 30, 35 miles an hour. Good snowfall there, Homer, Seldovia, all the way up Cook Inlet into the Anchorage area, and then it gets a little more hit and miss here over the southeast interior. No change out here in the west. Strong northwest winds, north to northeast winds there from Red Dog seeing north sustained 30 miles an hour. Same thing over at Ambler. Quite windy. Temperatures in either side of zero this afternoon, all the way down on those winds across the Pribilos. Of course, through the Bering Strait there, the strongest winds where it gets channeled up to 50 miles an hour in gusts. But that extends all the way southward to the Alaska Peninsula. Starting to let up a little bit here over in Alaska as the entire pattern begins to inch its way eastward. Nothing going on out over the Bering Sea. Even that front way out there toward the Komondorski is breaking up pretty good. You can see the north to south flow here, kind of a trough axis right through here, actually just a boundary between the milder air to the west, the colder temperatures just to the east, and then areas of moisture keep feeding on southward. So that keeps a lot of, well, just solid clouds out here with flurries and probably some IFR conditions. And that all right down into the peninsula there with the blowing snow being reported throughout much of the day at Cold Bay, but just on the other side, Sand Point, VFR. And then the circulation here over south central Alaska with the main low that's beginning to pull off to the east. On the chart today, there was the center of the low at 9 a.m. this morning, right there somewhere near Resurrection Bay or just to the east, and the snow with the moisture coming in over the cold air. Now the cold air back at the surface beginning to make a stride here to the southeast, the front, and heavy rain, gusty winds into the panhandle. At about the last front here coming through, and looks like conditions will become more showery with snow levels drastically falling. You can see later on tonight the cold air will begin to show up, so rain should change over to showers, begin mixing with snow even over the southern areas toward morning, and a pretty good chance of wet snow down to sea level. Be heavy wet with a continued southwest wind flow there, or south-southwest. So don't look for a lot of accumulations here, but you could see snow fall all the way down right to sea level. Look for some moderate snow showers there for Yakutat, definitely back along the North Gulf Coast. All the precipitation in the form of snow now. Some of that could be heavy at times there through Prince William Sound, and again extending back into northern Cook Inlet through Turnagain Arm. Very low visibilities there, any travel on the Seward Highway, and even northward on the Parks Highway. You get up north of Trapper Creek, or actually north of Chilentna, into that Cantwell area on up to the pass. Could be very windy conditions along with snow and blowing snow in that area. Back off to the northeast, clear and cold. Light winds out here to the west, high pressure and over the north slope. Still have this boundary here with a little bit of moisture in that area, but the wind's beginning to diminish now across the Alaska Peninsula. Really lightening up here this evening, actually, for the eastern Aleutians as the entire gradient starts to wash out there and it reestablishes over Kodiak Island back up along the Alaska Range. So could see some gusts of 50 miles an hour across Kodiak Island. Those temperatures drop down to about 5 to 10 degrees. For tonight, for tomorrow, high pressure, clear skies, very cold temperatures. We'll see below zero readings all the way from Bristol Bay up to the North Slope and the Arctic coast there. And it sees disturbances passing to the east just along and north of the coast. That could kick those winds up again in that 10 to 20 mile an hour range. That'll result in those wind chills down to anywhere from 50 to 60 below zero on the east side there. Lighter winds back to the west, so no wind chill advisory there, plus the temperatures are warmer. Lots of snow showers now over the panhandle, especially up to the north. The jet stream and frontal boundary dropping southward, and that's going to let all the cold air come in off the Pacific there. So look for some pretty good snowfall amounts with any elevation at all there, especially over the northern panhandle. And taking a look ahead to Monday, this whole low now weaker and moving eastward. We have an Arctic boundary right across the northern southeast coast. It's beginning to now pull back to the north a little bit, and a lot of moisture streaming northward with this system. So it looks like snow changing over to rain, or rain and snow mix moving into the southern southeast coast. Of course, first coming across Dixon Entrance Monday morning, and rain pushing slowly northward, at least over the southern areas in the afternoon hours. Less wind, but colder temperatures. Clear skies now. The snow is over. Just some snow showers left over the Gulf of Alaska, and those will remain offshore. So lightning winds over Kodiak Island with sunny skies there. Clear back along the southwest coast. High pressure, light winds out over the southeast Bering Sea. A weak trough now coming into the Bering Strait. That'll probably just bring a lot of IFR to low IFR with flurries, fog, and low cloud. Some of that could slip on up into the Norton Sound areas all the way right to the east coast there, or the eastern part of the Bay, Golovin down to Unalakleet, St. Michael. Look for some IFR on Monday due to snow and fog. Same pattern here on the eastern Arctic coast, although those systems a little more active. They're still light snow, but a little bit more on the clouds, wind, and lower conditions up there in that area. And then gradient beginning to tighten up here along and south of the Aleutians. So just look at this point in time for an increase in the winds, probably up to small craft advisories for the central and western Aleutians. During the day on Monday there, staying light. Still a few snow showers or flurries possible for the Unalaska area. Not bad for the peninsula. And moving on, temperatures today, 49 at Ketchikan, the warm spot, while Juneau had rain, 43 degrees. In fact, all of these locations reporting rain at 4 p.m. with gusty south winds as high as 35 to 40 miles an hour in some areas, 36 in rain in Yakutat, 31 there at Cordova with snow, 3/4 of a mile visibility in Valdez, and 25 degrees at Seward. Heavy snow falling, moderate to heavy from Whittier to Portage, right over into the Anchorage area, and some of that to the north, but mostly extending to the south there. Seldovia, 13 degrees at 4 p.m., 18 at Kodiak, -9 up at the park entrance, and 6 below at Delta Junction. Generally below zero here over the eastern interior, colder up to the North Arctic Village at -18. The cold spot, 37 below over at Dead Horse. Contrast that with 8 below at Barrow and 4 above here at Cape Lisburne. 0 at Kivalina, and again some pretty good north winds blowing across this area. Less wind and temperatures a little above zero there for the Nome area. -21 over at Caltag, 0 McGrath, same thing at Sleepmute. Single numbers here all the way down into northern Bristol Bay, even Pilot Point at 7 above, but Port Hayden up to 19, 30 degrees in Cold Bay, edging above freezing there at Unalaska, but still reporting some snow showers around, mid-30s for the remainder of the Aleutians. Lows tonight, 30 to 40 below here up over the northern and northeast interior with the near zero here right along the coastline. Teens out from the St. Lawrence Island to Nunivak Island, mid-20s for the Pribilos. And quite a contrast here from northeast Bristol Bay out to Cape Sarachev. On Alaska, look for a low of about 30. And colder air now coming eastward and southeastward. So lows dropping down to near zero here over the Kenai Peninsula areas and well below zero back across Kamishak Bay and up into the Kuskokwim Valley. Milder, but not by much, over the Copper River Basin. And then back into the mid to upper 30s over the southeast coast. Highs for tomorrow. There we go, 30 to 40 or 35 to 40 for the Panhandle. So a little bit cooler there, especially aloft and well below freezing there, barely making 20 now in the Prince William Sound area. Teens, lower to mid-teens, south central Alaska, Cook Inlet. Even colder up the valley, and then the below zero conditions north and west of the Alaska Range, but now starting to get a little milder here due to the persistent clouds from Nunivak Island back up through the strait, well below zero up over the northeast interior. Looking at the flying weather, areas IFR here from Cape Lisburne through the strait, right along and just off the coast into the Alaska Peninsula. Marginal VFR areas of out over the Bering Sea and the Aleutians. IFR along and north of the Alaska Range at times. Better conditions to the south. Gradually improving throughout the day tomorrow here over south central Alaska. VFR showing up there on the downslope areas or the lee side of the terrain, but IFR, areas of IFR from the North Gulf Coast, say Cordova, eastward across the Panhandle. For Anatuvik, VFR tomorrow, same forecast for Adigan, both approaches. VFR, Lake Clark improving, starting out lowest in the morning, should improve to VFR at some point in the afternoon, same forecast for Rainy. Windy, IFR becoming marginal or better during the day. Isabel probably holding in the IFR range throughout most of the forecast period, as well as Mentasta. And for Tanita, IFR with a gradual improvement, going marginal or even VFR tomorrow afternoon, or definitely by tomorrow evening. Portage also looking at an improving trend, starting out low and then gradually coming up to something a little better than IFR or low IFR conditions. Chilkoot and White, IFR. And looking at the freezing levels here, just north of the Aleutians and then cutting across the Alaska Peninsula, but through the Gulf of Alaska and in toward the northern southeast coast due to the continued southwest winds. But you notice a 2,000-foot line all the way down into the Queen Charlottes now. For icing, possibly some light to isolated moderate rime or mixed icing here below 12,000 feet, especially over the southeast coast. This area will be decreasing throughout the day, and actually even over the Panhandle, things will be getting less of a threat as you push through the day Sunday. Upper level wind flow chart, still cold northerly winds out here along the coast, but gradually edging its way eastward. The upper level low pulling off to the east, so that's going to take the snow with it, and the jet stream pushing southward there. That'll allow the cold air to filter into all of the southeast coast. And for the 9,000-foot winds, with 25 to 30 knots with low pressure in Prince William Sound there, so light winds from that area really through much of the eastern interior. West-southwesterlies 25 to 30 knots there, and then southwest up to 35 knots, strongest over the southern Panhandle. High pressure out over the Bering Sea, and then those winds here along and south of the Aleutians, mostly in that 25 to 30 knot range. Same thing for 3,000 feet, easterlies 25 knots over the Aleutians. Otherwise, low pressure here over the Gulf of Alaska, the strongest winds down to the south now, just catching the southern Panhandle up to 35 knots, especially in the morning hours. High pressure ridging in over the interior, so not much in the way of wind there, down to 20 knots, and that's about it here over the western zones, right back up into the Chukchi Sea, and then those westerlies up along the Arctic coast and portions of the North Slope 15 to 25. Turbulence, light to isolated moderate chop, possibly here on the eastern stretch of the coast up there. Occasional moderate chop here for the southeast coast. Otherwise, pretty smooth here through the interior, although moderate continuing there for Kodiak Island. Probably extending, especially early in the day. The western Alaska Range as well as portions of the Kenai Peninsula will be a little on the bumpy side. Otherwise, nothing too serious. And after the break, I'll be back with the marine forecasts.
Hello everyone, welcome to another edition of Alaska Weather Facts. I'm Jim Peranto. Every year Alaska is subjected to a river breakup season, which happens during the springtime. River breakup can lead to destructive ice jams, which threaten life and property along the Alaskan rivers. Here to educate us about this important season in Alaska is Larry Runquist, who is the Service Coordination Hydrologist at the Alaska Pacific River Forecast Center. Welcome to the studio, Larry.
Thank you, Jim.
Going to talk about ice jams. Well, let's talk first about when they occur. When do they typically happen in Alaska?
Okay, breakup in Alaska, in the southern portions of Alaska, can start as early as late April, mid to late April. But the majority of the breakup season is through the month of May. It can extend into June up on the North Slope, but May is the biggest month for most of the activity.
And do they occur every year, or is this an every other year type of thing? Or?
Well, ice jams occur every year, but they can occur to varying degrees of severity and number of ice jams depending on the spring weather and the snowpack and the ice thickness characteristics for that year.
Why are they so dangerous?
Well, ice jams, basically when an ice jam forms and a significant ice jam forms, the water level upstream of the jam increases very rapidly. And if a village is upstream of where an ice jam forms, they can have flooding very quickly with little notice.
When we look at the bigger rivers in Alaska, like the Yukon River and the Kuskokwim River, talk about how they break up, because they're large rivers. And are they producing more of a significant ice jam potential, or is it just pretty much the same as a smaller river in Alaska?
Well, the larger rivers do have a greater potential for ice jams. Smaller rivers typically will not have as much ice, and they tend to the width of the channel restricts the severity of the issues. But on the large rivers, the breakup process is kind of an upstream to downstream process, and as the ice moves downstream and and comes up against the ice that hasn't moved yet, either that ice does start moving out and the ice run continues to move down river, or if the ice is too strong and doesn't want to go yet, that's when an ice jam can form.
And that's what you're monitoring at the River Forecast Center, right? That when the ice has stopped, and then all the other ice that's backing up on that, when is that going to release?
Right. We monitor it both through field observations, aerial observations with field crews, and just with contacting people and just getting a feel for where we are in the process of breakup. And so we're monitoring primarily that breakup front that we call it, which is that front edge of the moving ice run.
And you guys are pretty busy around springtime at the office.
The month of May is very busy because of the high potential for problems associated with ice jams.
And there's another program that I'm reminded of called River Watch, right?
Right.
Is that tied into this?
Right. That is the River Watch actually has two main components. One where the River Forecast Center staff team up with the State of Alaska emergency management folks, and we fly the breakup front together and monitor the conditions. We also have another River Watch program, since those teams are only in one spot on each river. We do ask pilots as well through the River Watch program to report what they're saying.
And how can people along the rivers prepare for ice jam flooding?
Well, they pretty much have to do the preparation before breakup, getting property up above high water marks, and just preparing themselves for the potential for flooding.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming in today, Larry, and talking to us about ice jam flooding.
Well, thanks for having me, Jim.
And thank you for joining us here on Alaska Weather Facts. Until next time.
Welcome back. Well, southwest winds 25 to 35 knots out along the coast, lighter up to the north. Inside waters south to southwest 20 to 25. And then for Monday, much lighter winds now, kind of variable here, south to southeast to northeast, 10 to 20. Lightest right through here, and then possibly coming up to 20 knots during the afternoon down on the south coast as that next system begins to approach off to the southwest. And for the inside waters, pretty light winds east to southeast, 5 to 15 knots. Could see winds up to 25 knots over the northern inside areas. And for the North Gulf Coast, gales, northwesterlies, all the way down across Kodiak Island. Storm force winds at times with heavy freezing spray here through the Barren Islands back up into Kamishak Bay, and then edging downward tomorrow afternoon. Should come down to under storm force, but Cook Inlet, 20 to 30 knot winds, lighter up north of the Forelands. And then continuing that downward trend both tomorrow night and through Monday, still carrying some small craft advisories here through this stretch of the area, as well as the western Gulf Coast, otherwise 20 knots off to the east. Lighter winds for Cook Inlet, lighter winds for Kodiak Island here as well. For the Bristol Bay zone, northwest at about 20 tomorrow, northwesterlies, 15 knots across the peninsula, and starting out gale force here for the water southwest of Kodiak Island, coming down to 30 knots into the afternoon. And then for Monday, looking at lighter winds there, becoming more northeasterly over Bristol Bay. Still pretty light north to maybe northeast here for the peninsula, and lighter winds also southwest of Kodiak. And for the Aleutians, not bad wind-wise here, northeast there on the eastern areas to easterly for everywhere else in the 15 to 20 knot range, only 10 to 15 knots over there toward the Fox Islands. And then we should see those winds begin to increase, especially along and south of the Aleutians late tomorrow night and Monday. Small craft advisories, though, the way it looks right now for along the chain, gale force winds, though, just to the south of the area, and winds 10 to 20 back to the east. For the southwest coast, small craft advisories, even strongest in the morning hours here, but coming down throughout the day. But hold on to small craft advisories here for that Nunivak Island marine zone back 20 knots. St. Lawrence Island, noticeably lighter now over the northern Bering Sea and even the Pribilofs. For Monday's outlook, kind of variable here, north of the island, southwest at 15, but up to 20 knots with that system of questionable strength coming into the northern Bering Sea or toward the Bering Strait. So keep the winds light northeast down here, but really light now for the Pribilof Islands. Going up to the Arctic coast, westerlies 20 to 25 knots here along the coastline there. So looking for an increase in the winds and hence the wind chill advisories that are out. Northwest 10 to 15, Barrow all the way down to Cape Lisburne. Then we'll pick it up northerlies at about 20 there down to Tin City. And for the Monday outlook, a little more southwest on the wind direction here, but still in that 20 to 25 knot range. Westerlies 15 knots to the central coast, and then quite light here all the way down to and across the Chukchi Sea into the Bering Strait. For tonight again, snow advisories continue here over the Kenai Peninsula up to the northeast, but beginning to dry out down over the southern inlet there. So the snow should be ending, and that'll continue slowly to end from southwest to east and northeast, but quite windy, very cold temperatures in over Kodiak Island, spilling into the Cook Inlet area. Snow heavy at times, Prince William Sound, even over toward Yakutat. Look for the snowfall levels to drop, even though the precipitation will begin to diminish as well along all of the southeast coast. And then for Sunday, snow showers over much of the Panhandle. Snow along the North Gulf Coast, areas of across the Copper River Basin, clear and cold here over the interior. Still some lower stuff along the coast. A lot drier weather coming up for Monday. Have a great evening.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.